Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to the human training your dog is begging you for. And we appreciate you tuning in today. If you are needing help understanding your dog and some of their quirky behaviors, then you've come to the right place. We're Charles and Laura Countryman, the founders of Canine Culture Dog Training in Dallas, Texas. And we're joined, as always, by senior trainer and head of dog evaluations, Wyatt.
Hi.
And if you are struggling with training or behavioral or emotional issues, or you just want to learn more about your dog and the health and happiness of them, our intent's to help achieve that with you together. And I hope the subjects that we cover do just that. If you need help learning to manage or help with their training behaviors, you'd like to see better behaviors, better manners, then that is the intent of this podcast and what we try to do through our discussions. Basically just talk about dogs, dog training, types of training, behavioral issues, and hopefully from our conversations we'll help educate you and you'll understand your pup a little bit more and what makes him tick. And ultimately, we want you to have a dog that is a joy to live with. And today's topic and the area that we're going to discuss is a continuation of types of dog training. A couple of the other podcasts we did was board and train versus day in training, group training, core values in training, and today's topic is private lessons, when they're the right thing to do, when you're probably not going to get a lot of out of it, and what types of issues are right for a private lesson type of training. So if you're not sure what private lessons would be in the dog training world, it really just means that you're mono, one-on-one with a dog trainer. Usually you're at a park or at your home. And the advantage of that is you are one-on-one. The biggest disadvantage to private lessons is, especially if you're only doing one or two, heck, even if you were doing a dozen, but if you were doing one or two, you're basically asking someone to teach you in 30 to 45 minute sessions, maybe 1 hour sessions, how to train your dog. When we train or onboard a new trainer with no training experience, formal training experience, we spend 5 months training them. That's 8 hours a day for 4 weeks out of the month. It's a 5-month process. They're still not really what we would consider a great dog trainer. They're a pretty decent dog trainer for sure, but they haven't seen enough behavioral quirks and issues to have a large repertoire to draw from. So right off the bat, would you agree why the biggest challenge?
Well, it's both sides of the coin. It's not that you're going in there and you're teaching someone that doesn't really know what they're doing. You're also giving them a dog that has no idea how to do any of those commands. And you're saying, I'll see you next week. Good luck trying to do the thing your dog doesn't really do yet. And you don't really know how to train your dog how to do that. But I showed you with my show dog. So good luck. Have fun.
Right.
I'll talk to you next week. It's just it's not very productive. It does work if you donate years of your life to it. It just does not.
Yeah.
At all.
I find most people are not their goal is not to become a dog trainer.
Yeah.
What they want is a trained dog.
Yes.
They don't want to become a dog trainer in the process. And that is basically what you are trying to do if your whole dog training program is going to be based around private lessons. You are going to become a dog trainer or you are not going to have a dog that is trained.
Yep.
You can't have one without the other.
Yeah. And I think some people gear towards the private lesson because of the price, but they don't realize when you add up all your private lessons that you will need, you're going to get to that day and train or board and train price. Sometimes go beyond
Usually
that.
you go beyond it.
Yeah.
Especially if your dog has some issues.
Even minor ones.
Yeah.
Just happy-go-lucky, too much energy issues.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're doing.
Exactly.
And then so you're training your dog. So the guy comes out for an hour, shows you what to do. You train your dog all week. What if your timing's off? What if you picked up something he said and you remembered it wrong? So now this whole week is
you're practicing.
So now you've taught your dog new bad behaviors that you did not want.
Because, yeah, you're right. New bad behaviors that you didn't want. Like I tell a lot of our clients, most of the issues we have with our dogs,
It's us.
we caused.
Yeah, 100%.
And now we're paying a trainer to fix them. We never meant to, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
hopefully, but we did. We accidentally reinforced bad behaviors and bad manners
yeah.
as a puppy or as a young dog when they first got into our home. And now we are paying someone to help us fix that because we don't know how. And what you just said, Laura, is right. If your timing is off or you misunderstood a technique
Yeah.
or a method or the process or the flow, whatever, you're literally teaching your dog exactly wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you got to unwind that the next week when he's like, what were you doing? That's
Yeah.
not what I told you to do. And not all. So the only way for a dog to truly learn something is repetitions. Just like a human, repetitions create understanding. The more repetitions you do, the greater the understanding of the task, whether it's a human or a dog. Then that creates associations. And then the only way to create generalizations is to change the distractions, the environment, so they can start to generalize that command with no matter what's going on around them or where they are at.
Yep.
So not all repetitions are created equal, right?
Yeah, it's all consistency. It doesn't, because it's really what conditioning, dog training boils down to is repetition and consistency.
Yep.
You are going to do repetitions. The question is how many?
Right.
The more consistent you are, the less you have to do to get to that muscle memory point. But if you are all over the place because you just don't know what you're doing, it's going to take years. It's going to take a long time without behavioral problems. With behavioral problems, who knows if it's even going to fix the problem.
Because now your dog is guessing what you meant today might be different than what you meant yesterday because your timing, your clarity is completely off.
Yeah, you have no clarity.
Yeah.
So it takes at least 700 repetitions for a dog to grasp a new command. And then somewhere between, it depends on the dog and it depends on the environment, but somewhere between another 1,000 to 2,000 repetitions for them to be able to generalize it. Sure, you're going to have a command or two that you're able to get a good solid, dependency with 400 or 500 repetitions. And then you're going to have something that you struggle with for a year.
Yep.
Because every dog's got their one thing they just struggle with.
Oh, yeah.
That one might be 5,000 repetitions.
Or it could be a problem you just don't get a lot of repetitions. Like my personal dog, Pickles, still jumps on people when they come over. I'm not that social. Enough people come over to my house
to
get enough repetitions to make it stick. And it's so spread out. It's not fair. I can't be mad at him because it's just not
because
fair.
You don't have the training opportunities.
Yeah.
Right. Because he doesn't do it at work.
No, he doesn't.
Because he knows at work you don't do that because the repetitions are there. But at your home, like you said, you don't.
It's hard.
So that might be mind blowing for someone on the phone. Wait a minute. Are you saying your dog doesn't jump on people at work? No, he absolutely doesn't because the repetitions are there.
Yeah, and he's a fully off-leash trained,
translate that over to
phenomenally
the home
well-trained dog. He just cannot get over that hurdle.
Yeah. Of course, he knows he can't. He just doesn't know that other environment yet. So all repetitions are not created equal. And, to piggyback on that, if I am working on sit with my dog that I'm training, I like my dog to sit in front of me, frontally aligned, almost square in front of me, looking up into my eyes. And there's a reason, because if my dog's focused on me, then they're ready for another command. They're engaged with me. I'm not fighting with them over other distractions that are higher value, competing motivators. But, when I explain that to a client in a private lesson, they absolutely get it. We go into a lot more detail than I just summarized. But here's the problem. They'll agree, and I'll come back next week, and their dog's sitting at a 45-degree angle in front and looking off into this horizon. And I'm like, and they're very proud that their dog's sitting. I said, yeah, but it's a really sloppy sit. Yeah. I'm pretty picky about a couple commands. Sit's one of them because I want the engagement so we're ready to move on to the next. And it's not that they didn't do anything wrong. They taught their dog to sit, but they were doing sloppy repetitions. And as far as the dog thought, that's exactly what they wanted.
Yep.
So they got what they wanted. They got. That's where the breakdown, I think, is the biggest breakdown in private lessons is you are doing the hard work. You're doing the repetition work. And if your repetitions are sloppy, you're going to have a sloppy command forever, unless you take a great deal of effort and kind of retrain that command.
I think the other hard part is you don't get results quickly, so it's very easy to fall off the bus.
Yeah.
And basic obedience is boring. Come, sit, stay. Doing 3,000 repetitions of it, even if you're doing it in cool, it gets repetitive very quickly.
It does.
So that's why like the gym. That's why everyone isn't in shape, because you don't see results that quickly, and it takes so long, and you got to keep doing it, and it's frustrating, and people just give up.
Yep.
Then they go try to find a new fancy trainer.
Oh, then you're going from fad to fad to fad.
We trained. We'll keep the breed
Quiet.
We trained a couple, but here recently we trained a dog. That person, the owner, had gone to, I think, 4 trainers over about a year and a half, and they were all private lessons. And nothing improved. We did a 2-week board and train with us. Great. With the owner, a lot of the same behaviors. And the reason is that dog has had a year and a half to 2 years to practice that behavior. So just like a human takes about 21 to 30 days to form or break a new habit, so does a dog. But I actually like to say, since to break a new habit, you got to be religious about it. Like if you're going to get into the gym, you got to go every day and not miss a day for 30 days to actually form a concrete habit. If you're trying to help a dog form a new habit, are we really going to be that religious about it? No, we're going to skip a session here, skip a session here. So I like to say it takes twice as long for a dog, because the human error factor is screwing that flow up. So this person 2 weeks after board and train, well, he still does X and X. Yeah, it's been less than 2 weeks. You got to be fair to the dog
it's gonna take
and
longer.
do the repetitions, because you're first having to break the habit you've already established with your dog. The foundation's there, and I took the leash. I've never even trained the dog. I took the leash. Dog did everything I asked. She said, well, that's because you're a trainer. Actually, I'm second time that I'd ever handled the leash with that dog. It was a different trainer in our facility that trained the dog. The reason the dog did everything I asked, it had no bad habits with me. It knew how to do everything, and incredible clarity with my leash. I was not confusing the dog with how I was communicating with the dog with the leash.
Another problem too is the gym analogy is great. It's not just you're forcing yourself to go to the gym. Now you're pulling along your teenager that does not want to go to the gym. They think you're fine.
That's great.
You're not. You got to go long enough for them to actually see progress and actually be better and want to do it. It takes a minute.
Yeah, and I say that a lot, that I remind people on day one of their dog training. So if it's a board and train, we do the lessons, at the end of the week, and I'll remind them at that lesson, remember this, you signed up for dog training. Your dog did not. They did not know there were any problems at home. This was all your idea.
I thought they were fine.
You need to be very consistent and fair with your dog when you get home. Otherwise, they are absolutely going to go back to all the old behaviors they had because they didn't know there was an issue. So, that's a great analogy. You're dragging your kid to the gym and they didn't want to go. You're putting your dog into training and they didn't know they needed it. It's not that they didn't want to go. They didn't even know they needed it.
Yeah. I thought they were normal.
Yeah. I thought I was supposed to chew on the couch.
Yeah. That's how I get my stress out. It seems healthy to me.
So that's I think top of the list of the hardest thing if you're considering private lessons is you are default. If you're going to have success, you're going to become a dog trainer. And that's fine. If you want to become a dog trainer, that power to you. That's how Laura and I got into dog training long time ago. It is how most dog trainers actually get involved in dog training. They're trying to solve a problem they have with their own dog, and then they get hooked on training. But most of our clients do not want to become dog trainers.
No.
They just have a problem. They would like it solved. They would like it solved quickly and with as least amount of effort as possible. And that is human nature, right? So private training, it's all effort.
Yes.
Yeah.
100% effort. And it's the slowest way to go.
Yes.
Without a doubt.
Owners
the
are
fastest
in
way to go.
Control of how much value you get out of it. Does it work? Does it not work? I can only do so much. You are in full control over it.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it a minute ago. Is your dog something you mentioned? Is your dog having fun, or are they engaged?
Yeah.
If you're doing repetitions and your dog's not having a good time, they are not learning very well.
No.
They are just basically counting the minutes when they get their treat and be done.
Yeah.
And the monotony of the repetitions. That's what you were mentioning is that is one definitely a challenge for a dog trainer. Would you agree, Laura? That
Yes.
Keep it entertaining.
Keep it entertaining, change it up. There's billions of ways to teach a dog to sit.
Right.
Just sitting in front of you, say sit, good, sit. It's very boring for the dog, for me. For walking, teaching heel is very boring for me, and it's definitely boring for the dog. You gotta make it interesting. You gotta change it up. You gotta
it's why a gym has 50 different kinds of way to bench press.
Yes.
Because it gets boring just doing bench press.
Because they really probably only need 4 machines in a gym.
Yeah, 100%.
To do all your muscles.
Yeah.
So they're trying to keep your mind stimulated. And that is what you were just saying, Laura. To train a dog, we have got, not just for the dog, but for the trainer. We've got to mix it up or we become bored out of our mind.
Yes.
So,
and then we get sloppy.
Because we're just going through the motions and we're bored. We want to be interested. We want it to be interesting for us too.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So I think we've covered the biggest challenge of private lessons. Any other challenges?
We covered them all.
As a homeowner or dog owner?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've covered
I think so. We might think of one as we talk about the pluses.
Yeah.
All right. So if you are thinking, wow, canine culture does not do private lessons, we certainly do. For a puppy, 8 to 12 weeks, 14 weeks old, that is what we do. We would never throw a puppy in a group class unless it's more geared towards an introduction to obedience with a real strong focus on the socialization aspect.
Yes. Definitely want to do a board and train or a day and train. They're too little.
Yeah, they're just too mentally, they're not ready to download that volume of information at the speed at which they're going to be getting it and retain it when they start mentally developing.
Well, we also want them to have a childhood.
Yeah.
To be a normal, developed dog. You're allowed to do bad stuff. And when you're little, like, obviously I'm not going to let you destroy my couch, but you're going to chew on it. Like, I can't.
Yeah, I got to, with puppies, really, like we tell people, focus on just good manners in the home. Don't be destructive, potty training. Don't bite me. Don't jump on me. Then once they hit 4 or 5 months old, they're ready for training. But give them the first 4 or 5 months to just be a baby.
And accept some acceptable casualties.
Yeah. There's
things are going to get destroyed.
If you don't want anything getting destroyed in your house, don't ever get a puppy.
No, or kid.
That's just unrealistic. Or kids. Yeah, don't get kids either.
It's just as bad.
Yeah. And I always say, thank God puppies or dogs learn faster.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yes.
Because they really do. And that's what people that are, if you're struggling with your dog right now, just be thankful your dog learns faster than a human.
Yes.
Because they really do learn so much faster than kids.
Because a puppy destructive age, as long as you do it correctly, is fast.
Yeah.
Within a month.
It's like a month, maybe 2.
Yeah.
If you're really religious and disciplined about potty training a puppy, you can do it in 10 days.
Oh, yeah.
Barring the once in a while anomaly, but pretty much 10 days. It takes a lot longer than that to potty train a human. A lot longer. All right. So when is the time to do private lessons?
After the formal training, in my opinion.
Okay.
Well, after or barring some crazy aggressive dog or some crazy scary behavior, you can't really send your dog somewhere because you're afraid they're going to eat someone.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be another example, but the majority of the time after they've already been trained to the private lessons.
Foundation.
Yeah.
So the foundation, So you're getting your money worth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how we structure, our private lessons is we do a formal training, either a day and train or board and train. Most of the dogs we train, as we all know, are board and trains. And the reason is we want to make it so when we get into the private lesson, we are actually teaching the owner, not the dog.
Yes.
Because we've laid the foundation for the dog. Now we're showing the owner, transferring that leadership over to the owner and showing them here is a proper repetition and what it should look like. Here's what your dog should do if you do it properly and how they will do it and how fast they do it. Some dogs do things faster. Now we have them do it and now we help them for their timing inconsistencies, lack of clarity in the leash. Where really a private lesson is more about the human than the dog.
Yeah. Well, it's also just translating. Yeah, I get your dog can do X, Y, and Z in our facility all day, every day in our group class. Great. Now I need to show you how to do that in your house.
Right.
Your house is the hardest place to train your dog.
So, we'll typically do our private lessons, at the end of each week of a board and train to start gradually transferring that knowledge over to our client. And then I find the greatest place where we really plug in our private lessons, a lingering little environmental issue.
Yes.
It's usually environmental. So dog barks at the neighbor, dog barks at the fence. It's usually environmental to where the dog lives. And that's the only thing we don't have here. So now we've trained the dog. We've already done lessons with the owner. Now we just go out and do 1, maybe 2 private lessons, and we typically have the situation solved.
Yep.
But now we're doing environmental, so it's specific to where that last lingering little issue is, and then we show them how to solve it there. But the dog has the foundation. The neat thing about the reason we do what we do and how we do it is when I walk into a house for a dog I've trained, we're training the moment I walk in.
Yeah.
That dog knows, Charles here, we're training. If I walk into a house of a dog I've never met,
You never know.
I don't even know how it's going to go.
Yeah.
He might not want me there, but let's pretend friendly dog, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's a problem too, because all he wants me to do is he just jumps on me and wants me to play with him.
Yep.
And, he wants to say hi to me. So either way, whether he's friendly or not friendly, when it's a private lesson with a dog that is never trained with that trainer that's coming to do a private lesson, if it's an hour lesson, the trainer's probably going to spend 15 to 20 minutes getting the dog to respect that he needs to listen to him.
Yeah.
So now you're down to half hour of a lesson.
Yeah.
When we step in, if we're there for an hour, we're training for an hour.
The other problem is your dog's attention span is not that long.
Right.
And you've wasted all your prime time, early time on just getting them to calm down.
Yeah. And it probably will be like that most of the times you go over for a private lesson.
Yep.
It's,
Because you're the fun guy that does stuff.
the dog doesn't know you.
Yep.
Yeah. Especially, that is true. If you become the fun guy and Tuesday fun guy time.
When this guy comes here, I go on walks. I love this guy.
He gives me Treatos and it's the best life ever.
It's counterproductive.
Yeah. And
Think of that.
You're trying to digest if there's a behavioral or an emotional problem, you're trying to digest just now meeting the dog or the person for the first time, what it is, and be effective. And, some people, they think they know what the problem is. And then you get there and you get the dog and work with the dog and you're like, actually, that's not the issue at all.
At all.
Yeah.
I'm training a dog right now that was supposedly dog reactive. No, she's not. She just didn't know how to interact with dogs.
Yeah.
She wants to play with them. But anyway.
Well, the other hard part with that is she might not know how to socialize with dogs, but now she's guarding her house.
Right.
So now it looks aggressive, but if you take her out of the house, all of a sudden she's just shy and doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And with that dog that I'm training now, there's going to be one final private lesson that I have to do at their home because she barks out the window. Well, I've laid the foundation of what I'm going to do before I get there with the different commands I've taught her. So when I arrive, I know she already knows fundamentally how to do everything I'm going to ask her to do at that window. And we'll probably have it fixed in 15 to 20 minutes.
Yep.
Because I've taught her everything I'm going to need her to do when I get to the house in another week for her private lesson, instead of getting to the window where she's struggling and now try to teach her.
Yep.
You don't teach behavior when you need it. You teach it before you need it. So when you need it, your dog understands it.
Well, I think people also don't realize when you're trying to fix a bad behavior like barking in a window, it's not quiet. Like,
right.
It's come, sit, good, leave it, come. You have to do the basic obedience to get over that issue. You're not going to come up with some new fancy command that means 3 or 4 things. Like quiet means stop barking and come to me and sit and then leave it alone forever.
Right.
That's too much for a dog.
Yeah.
You have to do the basics.
That's a little broad.
Yeah.
What are other scenarios where you might do aggressive dogs? So we do private lessons with aggressive dogs.
Yes, first lesson they come in for a private lesson, and that has a lot to do with seeing how the trainer wants to see how bad the dog is for one thing, and then with the owner, and it's safer. So we do 2 private lessons with human aggressive dogs that have bite history. That just helps.
And that's at our facility.
That's at our facility. And that helps the
And the owner
trainer.
stays there.
Yes,
for
helps
that
out.
lesson.
So helps the dog understand the owner's there. So maybe this person's okay. Helps the trainer to see exactly what it is. So it's basically, they're not really, for the 2 private lessons, they're not really teaching, training, anything. They're just being with the dog and the owner. That is.
I like to say the reason we do those 2, and sometimes for super aggressive dogs,
Just
we've
3.
needed to do 3, but usually 2. The reason we're doing it, like you said, Laura, we're really not training either. We're earning the right to work with the dog.
There we go. Yeah.
Building
So
some trust.
We're building trust with the dog. So that way, when we transition to step 2, which is now leave your dog here all day with a muzzle on, so we can train with him and then send him home so he's not sleeping in a kennel with a muzzle because he's still human aggressive, right? That first day goes decent.
Yes.
And it usually actually goes well because he's like, all right, well, I don't like people, but I do know this person. And,
Yeah.
You're not getting.
right. Not my best friend, but I'm not going to bite him.
It's the one person I semi-trust here. I'm not getting dropped off at some scary building or
Exactly.
shipped somewhere.
And then that trainer's really the only one that interacts with that dog. And then we'll do the same thing. Day 2 or 3, maybe 4. The dog's really in the driver's seat with this phase of our human aggressive dog training. We'll do day and trains until we feel comfortable that we can take the muzzle off and nobody's going to get bit.
Yeah.
Then now we dive into an immersion. We're doing board and train. But it was a process to get there. And it started with the private lesson. The private lesson, like you said, Laura, had nothing really to do with obedience.
Yeah.
So the goal of a private lesson can definitely vary. It's
the hardest part about private lessons with aggressive dogs is to actually get your dog over the issue. They've got to decide. They've got to, like an addict, they've got to hit the bottom of the barrel and realize, okay, this human is not going to kill me. It's not going to eat me.
Yeah.
It's not going to kill Dad. I don't need to try and eat him.
Yeah.
I don't
Or
need to guard mom
They're
and
not
dad
that
or-
scary.
Right.
But giving that dog to owners and saying, good luck, this is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, it's hard.
Go be around people now.
Yeah.
It's not fair and it's not safe, to everyone. That's why group class is so important. But the private lessons are really not fair to those kind of issue dogs because it's not fair to the owners.
Right.
Another reason I think you would get private lessons is if you have a trained dog, you want to do any sport work with your dog.
Yeah.
Or
for sure.
if you want to do service dog training, as we know in America, you do not have to have a certificate. You don't have to go anywhere. You could do your own dog. But there are service dog trainers and they appreciate it when the dog's completely trained. And so they're just working on the service dog aspect.
Teaching the skill the service dog needs to learn.
Yeah.
Yep.
So those would be private lessons.
Yeah. If you have a dog that's fairly well trained, now you're seeking private lessons to take your dog to the next level.
Or
And we have done private lessons that we didn't train here, but the people have moved here or been trained somewhere else. And the dog, we test the dog. Dog is trained.
Right.
They want to join one of our group classes, so we have to do a couple of private lessons, make sure where the dog is. So we do private lessons then, but these are trained dogs that we've already know that. I mean, they're not
The
trained like
foundation
off
is
leash,
there.
but they have foundations. They can sit, they can walk on a leash.
we had a buddy, I think we did one with him, a big 90-pound pit bull, trained since a puppy.
Yeah.
Well, it was like 6, 7 months old when we trained him. Phenomenal dog. About a year and a half starts growling at his parents going in the kennel for no reason. No one's ever been mean to this dog. He's a great dog. He just was a teenager saying, no, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Right.
And if we didn't do that private lesson and teach them how to fix that problem, as in you're just going to go into that kennel like 100 times a
Yeah,
day,
it could have progressed.
it would have progressed.
Yeah, it does.
He would have progressed to
because he's repeating a behavior and it's only going to get stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
Because it's working.
Right.
But that's a good example
They
of
don't put
out
me
the
in the
blue, something could happen
Yeah.
where you
Yeah.
need a private lesson, even with a very well-trained dog, or
Yeah.
your service dog got in a fight with a street dog that ran up on
And
it
now
out the
he's-
blue.
Reactive on the leash.
Yeah.
A lesson or 2 would probably get you past that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a foundation is already there
Yeah.
for you and the dog.
So so
yeah.
that's why we would do private lessons. The owner we think is pretty good dog handler, and the dog's has a good basic foundation.
Yeah.
Takes 2.
But if they either don't have, none of them have that, then it's it's too hard.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else you want to add on private
Private
lessons?
lessons.
It's just all about time and place.
Time and place. It is, and what you're looking to be out of it, or to get out of it. Well, hopefully, our little dialogue on private lessons helped you if you're considering lessons. It really just depends on where your dog is, where you're at as far as a handler, how much time you want to get where you want to go, and how easy or hard or difficult you want it to be.
Pretty much, yeah.
Really, it boils down to that. So on next week's podcast, we'll be wrapping up. We have two podcasts left that we'll be working or discussing types of training. Next week's board and training versus if you're considering or looking into doing a board and train, the difference between board and train at with a trainer that has a facility, so your dog stays at the facility, or a board and train with a trainer that works from their home, so your dog's going to stay at their home. There are pros and cons to both, and we're going to discuss them in great detail. So that way it'll help you make the best decision for what you want out of dog training with your dog. And hopefully, if today's podcast or our discussion spoke to you and helped you, you can feel free to reach out to us at k-9culture.com if you have any dog training questions you'd like us to answer on one of our upcoming discussions. And be sure to follow us on Instagram, social media, Facebook, TikTok. We'd love to hear from you. And also be sure to follow us as long as you're on those social media platforms. And if you are needing help with your dog, we'd absolutely love to work with you and your dog and help you have a dog that is a joy to live with. Yeah.
Or sharing how far on the journey you are. And if you're already training your dog, show us what's going on.
We train dogs that have a decent foundation. We just firm that up, polish it up, and then teach them new skills. Well,
it's one of my favorite parts about group class is tell someone that's where this dog started and look at them now.
Yeah.
So
it blows people away.
You might feel like you're bragging, but that person could have been where you were 6 months ago and are struggling and are thinking about just rehoming the dog, and they could see you, and that could be why they keep doing training.
Yep, exactly. Well, until next week, from all of us here at K9 Culture Dog Training, thank you for spending a little bit of time with us today. And until next week,
go have fun with your dog.